Okay, let's begin the session. Once again, good evening to everyone. Guys, for today's session, the topic is mergers and acquisitions in the finance. And it is very important topic, so let's all understand what the concept is. But before that, let me introduce myself to you. I'm Sangeeta Verma, all the way from virtually connected with you all from Kathmandu, Nepal. And for this connection, virtual connection, let us all thanks to Learnovet. Thank you, Learnovet. Okay, so I've done my MBA in banking and finance, and along with that, recently completed my MPhil in management. In this slide, you can see my work experiences with different organizations and different industry. But currently, I'm associated with a multinational import export company as a DCM, and it's my 7th year running with them. And apart from this, I'm also connected as a freelancer with Learnovet. Thank you, Learnovet, once again. So let's begin the session. It's all about mergers and acquisitions in finance, and I hope some of from you might have got the concept of mergers and acquisitions. But when we go for the merger and acquisition, understand how. Let's just give a glance to a little bit of historical background of how mergers and acquisitions are. Whenever you think of, wherever an organization thinks of getting up merged or acquiring any of the organization, what they do is they always analyze the investment decision, because the major part is over here is investment, which should be clearly understandable. And this investment decision plays a vital role in the final decision of getting merged or acquiring any of the second party or third party companies. And this is like, you can say, seems out to be an offer for any of the organization, right? It merger is done mostly whenever a smaller organization is about to get collapse due to financial crisis and all. They try to get merged with higher investment or higher finance companies, and whereas acquiring is also same thing. Okay, strong financial background company with a strong goodwill, a strong finance, is ready to invest or do extra invest in any other company in a way of expanding the business or and getting out their investment ratios. So when these acquisitions and mergers are already way talked in an organization, it always deals with the transactions, that is financial investment transactions, which ranges from one firm getting out with merge or acquires with another firm in order to create a new firm, or just managing with the old firm so that they are able to expand, they invest, and they uplift any of the organizations. So, what is like a merging? A merger is always a, you can say, an information incentive tool, which is can be considered as a feasibility study, feasibility study that is carried and beforehand to ensure the sources of amalgamation, and it is primarily used by investment bankers and M&A professionals. So, this way of getting up with merge is mostly with the methods of discharge of purchase consideration, intangibles, and synergies. So these merging is like, you can understand that with the example that company A is getting a in acquiring company with the company B, and then when they two get merged, they are just known with the, either A or the B company. They are known with the way of which one is higher, which one has a higher investment and financial stability and strongness. That after merging, that company takes a hold of in another company to deal and to know the name. So company profiling, right? Identifying targets, then conducting valuations, determining the goodwill and purchase considerations, adjusting with the B and uh, you can say buying and selling and in income statements, acquisitions effects. All these are being understood whenever the merger is done. Suppose if company A is getting merged with B is little lower in the investment and in the finance, and A is you can say considerably higher in the finance sector. So what happens whenever the company gets merged with A and B? That B company, which was weak with the finance, with the goodwill, with the investment, with everything, that company has to leave the authority, the power, and has to hand over to the company which is at the higher ratio. So company comes out to be in the name of company A, though there's a part of company B over there, but a company B can never say that is my you have to say that it got merged with the company A. They are the higher investment financial ratios, and they are the higher sharing of profit ratio also, and this can be vertical or horizontal. So I hope merging scenario is understandable to all. Let's go to the acquisitions. Acquisition is an action in which company buys more of another firm takers and assumes the control over it in such a cases that they buy common company out of the 50% of the grievances. Means the acquiring company always gets in with the tools and assets of the target company. The buying company now can be free to make an impairment decisions without approval of the target company. Suppose they get merged with company A acquires to company B. Suppose uh, now it's completely in the hand of the higher investment portfolio company, whether that is goodwill with the finance or investment. The power and the authority goes to that company, and that company might keep all can only like to know as per their company, or might get an amalgamation with the another company's name also. So if company A and company B gets merged, they might be company AB, or they might be only company A. So it's completely in the decision of the acquiring, the company which is acquiring, and it the authority from the target company, that is B, has to hand over all the power and authority to company A. So the process of acquisition is like, it is very important that whenever an organization thinks of getting merged or acquired, it's very important that thorough study, analysis, observations, and information and resources collectively to that company regarding that company has to be done. That's determining growth market services, identifying the candidates, assessing the strategic financial position, financial market value, making it to whether to go or not go decision, conducting the valuations, implementing transactions, and monitoring ongoing performance. So all this has to be thoroughly observed and studied whenever any of the company decides of getting merged or thinking of acquiring any of the company. So parent company has to always have a thorough knowledge and information regarding every concept of that company, whether that is historical background, financial market stability, uh, profit sharing, product information, whatever it is, has to be understood. So till here, any confusion, guys? Okay, let's go to the next slide then. So you know that, as I said, that there are the types of mergers and acquisitions, and you can say that the companies might get merged or acquired in a way of horizontal, vertical, conglomerate, and concentric. So horizontal is company with similar products or service come together with the main goal to expand their offerings or markets. Whenever vertical merger or acquisition is done, it's done in the same industry to join their forces to improve logistics, consolidation, staff, or reduce time to market their offerings. And conglomerate is always done when companies in different industries join their forces with the goal to broaden their range of services and products. Concentric companies share customer bias but provides different services and do not have a mutual relationship. So in a four-way mergers and acquisitions are possible. There are the types. And whenever the merger or acquisitions are done, no, they are also done in the three motives. For the three motives, that is operating, financial, and strategic. When it's operative motive means economy of scale, growth of market power, economy of vertical integrations. And financial motive is advantages on capital market, tax benefit, possibility of subsequent resale, risk diversification. And then when strategic motives are seen in mergers and acquisitions, they are obviously profitable purchase of assets, access to insider stock tips, and sale of recurrent assets. So dealings of mergers and acquisitions deals with these three motives: operative, financial, and strategic, whereas types in horizontal, vertical, conglomerate, and concentric. And when it is also should be understood, it's just not operative, financial, or strategic. It's obviously with the business activity, controlling interest, and then strategic transactions. For that concept, also the merger and acquisitions are done. So when it is done with these things, it's like group based on line of the business activity, horizontal, vertical, conglomerate, group based on a beat of controlling interest, friendly, hostile, bellicose, and group based on a strategic transaction, strategic, financial, reverse, downstream, upstream, de facto, cash, short form, bakut, and fund management. For that also the acquisitions are mergers and acquisitions are done. Till here, any confusion, guys? Okay, let's go then.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, please.
Ma'am, you said a hostile takeover, ma'am. What is it?
Hostile takeover is like you can say that forcefully taking out any of the acquisition of any company, like in a inside way, companies shares and share values are reduced or any other
Like, ma'am, Byju's
competition.
recently purchased Whitehead Junior. Can it be considered as example of this?
I didn't got your voice audible. Please come again.
Ma'am, recently Byju's has purchased Whitehead Junior. So
Yes,
is it
exactly. Yeah,
is it
because
a
they
hostile
from
takeover?
yes, that's a hostile because inside way they purchased all the shares from the shareholders, right? In a
Okay.
very hidden way from the shareholders. The shares were
Ma'am, is it
purchased and the
necessary that
financial
they have to
markets.
pay one-time fee, or they have to go for loans, or
No,
they can opt any of it?
they can do any of it. They are
Okay, okay.
it's completely in the choice of the company which acquired, who became the most stronger financial part of the organization.
But ma'am, if in case the for this case Whitehead Junior was in the loss, they were having their financial statements were showing losses in their figures. So that losses will again be transferred to the bigger company who's acquiring it, right?
So obviously they are paying. They are going to pay. That's why they acquired it. No, so
Yes,
then
yes.
that white juniors will not have any of the power or authority to say that that's our company. The company which acquired, which is going to
But
pay
ma'am, losses
dividends.
will go into the hands of senior company
So they are ready to
in
pay
case
for
they
that,
are
right?
having.
But they are
Yes, yes, they
acquiring the
have to pay.
entire senior company is doing that in a way of expanding their business and letting the investment go on in a higher range.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Welcome. So, as I discussed to you earlier about horizontal, vertical, concentric, right, and conglomerate, these are there. And if you go with the examples, no, it's like in a vertical, you can take an example of getting vertical BPL with Optum color picture, then Disney with American Broadcasting Company. Concentric example is between motor and cycle manufacturing and an automobile or manufacturing company. Then in conglomerate can go with the Walt Disney with American Broadcasting Company. So all these are the mergers and acquisition examples, and every now and then, mostly the banks are getting merged these days. You'll hear out the news that this bank is getting merged with that bank is getting with that bank. So mostly the banks are also trying to l- lower down their and overcome their risks zone as per the RBI instructions also. Right? So financial companies are getting merged. So the mergers and acquisitions are going in a way that they can reduce the loss which few of the companies of the banks bear due to COVID, due to pandemic. To overcome that also, the companies are going in the way of merging. So these are the uh, vertical merger, horizontal merger, reverse merger, conglomerate merger, and congruent mergers. So you can see that Oracle with the Regulation, Microsoft with the Yammer, Salesforce with the Radiant, all these were merged in a way that the company gets out with their factorization. So when it's vertical merging, it's we should understand that these are two different cotton suppliers and textile manufacturer. These are of the company of same concept, so they got merged, right? When it comes with the horizontal merged, you can say similar two companies got merged. That is, automobile got with automobile, textile with textile, then after food manufacturing with food manufacturing, that is horizontal, right? And when it comes with the reversed one, reverse merger is also there. So this type of merger is a merger in which a private company becomes a public company by acquiring it, and reverse merger saves a private company from the complicated process and expensive compliance of becoming a public company. So this is turning out the from public to private and private to public. And when it comes with the conglomerate merger, it involves a merger between two business that are not related to each other, that is completely different industry or different geographical areas. So those two company also can get merged. And when it comes with the concentric merger, that is like two different businesses are getting merged, and after merging, one business is only in a way of dealing all these services. Now you can say the example. In the example of vertical merger, Disney with the Pixar, right? Horizontal merging, Lipton India got merged with Brook Bond, Bank of Maharashtra go with the IIC Bank, then BEC Limited with Odisha Power Supply Company, Associated Cement Companies got merged with the Damster Cement, and there are different like of companies like Coopers and Labors got with Price Water House and they became PwC. Astra plus Zenka Group merged and they got AstraZeneca. Then Exxon plus Mobil got and they became ExxonMobil. Then Sirius Satellite Radio plus XM Satellite Radio merged and they became Surizamsek. Like this, the companies are getting merged, and in the conglomerate, Walt Disney Company got merged with American Broadcasting Company. So whenever you go with the Walt Disney one, you, whether if you remember that in our childhood you used to see that Scooby Dooby Doo and then Tom and Jerry shows, right? Then you can say another different cartoonist one you can see over there. What Disney is also coming and American Broadcasting Company also coming, so they also got acquired. Then comes with the concentric mergers. City plus Travelers, they became City Group. Dial up plus Medicit, they became Dial up Medicit. And in the growth of the firms of the Google, you can see Google is every now and then getting merged with or acquiring different companies who are not in a good position, are not able to run their business, or lacking out with the financial stability, Google is trying to getting merged with and expanding their services, expanding the areas, expanding the way of coming out in a growth of organization. You can see that Google is completely, every now and then you get a news of every like the company got merged with Google has acquired that company. So what is that? That is, Google is trying to expand the area of service, expanding the area of investment and financial achievement. And why the let's understand why these mergers and acquisitions are mostly done. They are done for different ways, different concept, and in that they are merged for the tax benefit, discharge of surplus funds, increase in administrative effectiveness, then integral resources and synergies means greater value generation, gaining cost efficiency, increase in market shares, and gain higher competitiveness. So shareholders' values increases, increase in market share, increase in cost efficiency, increase with the value generation. So the benefits of mergers and acquisitions are in a higher concept. That is, merger and acquisitions generally succeed in generating cost efficiency through the implementation of economies of scale. It is expected that shareholders' value also get increased after any of the companies are merged or acquired. And when it comes with the gaining cost efficiency, when two companies come together to merge or acquire, the joining company benefits in terms of cost efficiency as the two firms form a new and bigger company. The production is done on a much larger scale. It even helps in increasing the market share ratio. Why? When a market share ratio increases, it completely helps in the benefits of expanding in the way of investment. As for that concept also, mergers and acquisitions are done, and the competitiveness between any of the organizations gets more efficient, more competitive, and financially weaker percent organization has to get compared with the another one concept. Even the tax benefit, obviously those companies, whether two companies or three companies are getting merged or acquired, they get a tax rebate. For the benefit purpose also, companies get merged with each other. So I hope benefit portion is completed to everyone. Now let's understand impact of mergers and acquisition, how they impact. They impact in a various aspect, but mostly they impact on five sectors of any of the organization. First thing is employees. They get affected. Then shareholders. Impact in is obviously when you are thinking that company A is your uh, boss, and all of a sudden company B comes as to be your boss. Employees not in a work proper, but in a psychological way they get impacted, and their work scenario, and they start thinking that whether we'll be there or not anymore, or it might be the employee cut off also can be possible over there. So for that also, that impacts employees. Shareholders, whether the share value will be decreased or increased, whether we are keeping on a the shares value will be proper or not, profit sharing will be there or not, as per the interest uh, payment will be as per promise or not, that also gets impacted. Then publics gets impacted, competitors also get impacted, and then management itself gets impacted whenever there is a merger or acquisition scenario. Till here any confusion, guys? So let's understand why and why not merger and acquisition. So why merger is important? Merger is important to increase the market share, economies of scale, profit for research and development, benefits on account of tax shields like carried forward losses or unclaimed depreciations, reductions of competition. Now, what problem arises whenever merger is done? Clash of corporate culture, increased business complexities, employees may be resistant to change. Now, when it comes with the acquisition, why acquisition is important and how, why not, what problems could arise? First, why is it acquisition? Increases market share, increases speed to market, lower risk comparison to develop new products, increased diversifications, and avoids excessive competition. Now, when it comes with the problems with the acquisition, inadequate valuation of target, inability to achieve synergy, financed by taking huge debt. So, whenever merge or acquisition decision any of the organization makes, it has to understand and keep in mind that why they are doing and what problem they need to tackle. So for after complete observing and analysis, a company can go for the merger and acquisitions. So increases all that. Even it more with the help of merger and acquisition, sometimes growth can be possible. Vertical integration is possible. Leverage synergies gets and acquires the valuable assets also, right? And what are the reasons for merger and acquisition? Strategic benefits, economies of scale, economies of scope, economies of vertical integration, complementary resources, tax benefit, utilization of surplus capitals, managerial effectiveness, synergies, acquisition of specific assets, and diversification. Diversification can be of risk, can be of profit, can be of loss. So it's like a way of helping an organization to stand back or acquiring or getting merged with any of the organization in order to stand. So these are the reasons for merger and acquisition. Now, what are the advantages? Both are legally simple and does not cost much. Merger does not require cash. A merger allows the shareholders of smaller entities to own a smaller piece of a larger peak, increasing their overall net worth. A merger allows the acquirer to avoid many of the costly and time consuming aspects of asset purchase, reducing your cost, overhead, and competition. What are the disadvantages? Mergers and acquisitions must be approved by a vote of the stakeholder of each firm. Obtaining the necessary votes can be time consuming and difficult. M&A activity is relatively high risk of failure. Diseconomies of scales of business becomes too larger, which leads to higher unit cost. So there might be many more advantages or disadvantages as per the sector, industry, and as per the decision made by higher authority in order to get merged or acquired. Now, what are the basic difference? Slight differences are there of merger and acquisition, and that has to be understood. Merging of two organizations into one. First thing, acquisition is buying one organization by another. Merging is a mutual decision. Acquisition is the can be friendly takeover or hostile takeover. Merger is expensive than acquisition, means higher legal cost is there. Acquisition is less expensive than merger. Through merger, shareholders can increase their net worth. Buyers cannot raise their enough capital. It is time consuming and the company has to maintain so much legal issues in merger, whereas acquisition is faster and easier transactions. Merger holds with the ownership occurs. And then acquisition is acquiring does not experience the dilution of ownership. So in a merger, it can be possible, and in acquisition, it cannot be possible. Now, typical steps, right? But whenever it is a typical steps, you will say you'll also understand how the steps are followed for merger and acquisition. Acquisition strategy, acquisition criteria, searching for targets, acquisition planning, valuing and evaluating, negotiations, due diligence, purchase and sales comrades, financing and implementation. These all the 10 ladders has to be climbed very efficiently in a very legal way whenever merger and acquisitions are done. And this process, whenever you say about merger and acquisition process, it comes with the proper planning, marketing, screening, negotiations, and completions. Planning, if you are thinking of, right, marketing, you should know that when you acquire or you get merged, how you're going to get market to your product or service. In the then screening, which company, proper selection of the companies, whichever is like for you that the product and services are very high, but the company is not dealing out with the financial losses, so you can acquire that type of company. Negotiation in a very proper way, and then completion, it has to get properly in a legal way. Completion should be done. So typical steps in the organization of a company like determination of acquisition criteria, identification and evaluation of potential partners, approach to potential partners, and then execution and completion of transactions. So all these 10 ladders of merger and acquisitions, and the process of M&A has to be very proper, efficient, and analytical way. It's not that in a random way you are doing it. Proper resource searching, proper observation, proper analysis, proper study, depth knowledge collecting, and collecting much more financial investment method or information, and then going for the merger acquisition will be beneficial. It means that do take risk, but with your complete senses open. Then acquisition process, requirements definition, acquisition strategy. Then keep your request for proposal, evaluation phases, without discussion or with discussion is your company's choice, contracts, award and post award. So these steps has to be followed by any of the organization whoever is thinking of merging or getting acquired. So the post of acquisition integration frameworks works with the culture of the organization, leadership of the organization, and then organizational structure of the process. So it's very important that proper strategy, proper content, proper leadership, proper structure and process of the in a way of acquiring or merging with any of the organization has to be in a very systematic way. Business acquisition process, obviously it should be feasible, agree and deal, funding, completion and post deal. So this is the way how a company mostly gets associated with the business acquisition, service acquisitions, or total acquisition and merging. So you can see snapshot of merged entity, how what are them merged. Share capital is merged, reverse and surplus is merged, net worth is merged, and then bullion value is merged and AVB is merged. Means you can say that the BOB got merged with Dana Vijaya Bank and merged. There, what happened? Their share capital increased. Whenever any of the companies get two company gets merged, two or three or four company gets merged or acquired, obviously their capital, share capital value also get merged and increased. So over here you can understand with the example also. Uh, You can say average acquisition premium and stock price reaction to mergers. These these things keeps on sprawling out in the financial market one. So acquire purchase 100% of target by issuing additional stock to purchase target shares. So no premium is offered above target current price shares. So you can say that P/E ratio and EPS, earning per share, shares outstanding, gets understood. So EPS mostly gets increases in the way of merging and acquisitions. And in merging and acquisitions, there is a complete set formula, that is cost per acquisition, which means total amount is spent while doing merging and acquisitions, and divided by total attribute conversion. What does it mean? It means that total amount spent means the amount of money used on a marketing activity when after merge or after uh, acquiring, which you are going to spend, whether that it will be possible to regain or not. Then acquisition, action, and conversion is any action that is being measured, that is sale or sign up. Total attributes conversions. So the total amount of conversions which are attributed in this activity, means conversion usually have multiple causes or someone usually adverse it. It's very important that your CPA is easily recovered whenever you go for acquisition and merger. So this is the end for the session. Any confusion, guys? Anything to ask? Please revert me back if there is any confusion or anything which you have to ask. No queries at all? So guys, if you in the future you become a very top class business tycoon or anything, like if you have a very good business organization and you're thinking of merging and acquiring, do proper research, proper homework before acquiring or getting merged with any of the organization. But I hope every one of you acquired another business house whenever you reach to that level. Thank you so much for the session today. Thank you, Lord Obed. Till then, next session. Have a great
Thank you, ma'am.
have a great day.
Good evening.